Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to BeyGhum Begums. Today is a different kind of show because आज मैं बात कर रही हूँ to an influencer. Influencer क्या होता है? इस वक्त हमारी ज़िंदगियों में ऑनलाइन सेलिब्रिटीज़ कह सकते हैं उन्हें, बहुत हमारी ज़िंदगी में अब शामिल हो चुके हैं. कई की फ़नी वीडियोस हम देखते हैं हर रोज़, तो सुबह उठ के हमें मज़ा आता है. कभी हम अपने अम्मी अब्बू को देख रहे होते हैं, वो कितने मज़े की अपने अपने फ़नी वीडियोस देख रहे होते हैं. तो इसमें अब कंटेंट क्रिएटर्स आर बेसिकली क्रिएटर्स ऑफ न्यू मीडिया, एंड आई थिंक इट्स इंटरेस्टिंग कि हम इनमें से वी टॉक टू सम वुमेन हु आर डूइंग समथिंग डिफरेंट. एंड आज हम बात कर रहे हैं शहाना खान खलील से. शी इज़ वेल एक्चुअली उन्होंने काफ़ी कुछ किया हुआ है. उन्होंने शी इज़ अ प्रोड्यूसर एंड एक्टर. शी इज़ अ but she's most well known as a content creator on Instagram. उनकी बड़ी मज़े की वीडियोस होती हैं about being a देसी, growing up with देसी सोसाइटी में जो मज़े की बातें आंटियाँ करती हैं और इस तरह की चीज़ें. She lives in America और उनकी ऑब्जर्वेशंस में दोनों चीज़ें थोड़ी शामिल हैं. लाइफ थोड़ी बहुत लिविंग इंडिपेंडेंटली एज अ पाकिस्तानी वुमन इन अमेरिका वो भी है. थोड़ा सा इन चाइल्डहुड अपने रेफरेंसेस वो भी हैं. सो लेट्स टॉक टू हर अबाउट व्हाट दिस होल थिंग इज़ अबाउट एंड हाउ डू यू मेक इट हैपन ऑनलाइन. Acha ji, assalamu alaikum. Shahana, it's great to have you here today. And I'm really excited that you're here with me today.
I'm excited to be here. I feel like I've been all over the place in life for a minute, so it's just kind of nice to be forced, I guess, to just like sit down for a minute, and breathe. Like I was away for a while, and so I was just like, this is a good excuse to just breathe, have a conversation, you know what I mean, and just do that.
Yeah, though I mean, I think the places you're going to seem to be really peaceful and serene. It's not like you're bungee jump. I mean, I don't know if you did bungee jumping. It seems like very peaceful and bada sukoon types situation.
I mean, I definitely wish I did bungee jumping in my life. I mean, I think that I want to go bungee jumping and I want to go skydiving at some point in my life, but no, I've spent a lot of time in the Azores in Portugal, which is quite literally in the middle of the ocean. Like I didn't
even know about this place.
Me neither. I always thought like, oh yeah, I want to go visit Portugal, but I had no idea, and then I had to look it up, and I was like, holy shit, it's literally in the middle of the ocean. So
and it's beautiful.
I think it's a bit poetic. Like everybody just wants to, especially in this day and age, everybody wants to disappear into like the middle of nowhere. So Allah miya ne kaha ki bas beta ja.
Reminds me of those old Italian films hoti thi, and you saw those like Il Postino and stuff, those beautiful streets and everything. Fair, let me thoda sa hum bata dete hain ki Shahana is one of the most popular content creators on Instagram. Are you also on TikTok, by the way? I'm too old to be on TikTok, so I wouldn't know.
I feel like एक बेचारा platform which says मतलब संभाला नहीं जाता. I'm like, that's too much.
I know.
People ask me all the time, are you on TikTok? Are you on YouTube? I'm like, man, it's like too much work. So Gobi, I feel like even like Instagram, I'm like हमेशा यही कहती हूँ, I'm like the most consistently inconsistent creator I know, because I just don't do it as much as I should. But yeah, no, thank you. I just make stuff on the internet.
I wanted to, let's just talk about it, because I do want to establish the fact that one of the reasons I was curious to have this conversation with you is because I am over the hill, over 40, and you are
geriatric.
You're not there. So how is it on the other side? I want to see, because I have been talking to a lot of older women and asking them, what did they learn? And how did they see things, and what has changed for them? So how do you think women, what are the things that you learned from women older than you, and you were like, "नहीं, ये हम नहीं करेंगे."
It's funny that the emphasis so much on like the different generations as I put on my glasses so that I can see better. In that generation of women that did what they needed to do, behaved in certain ways under a patriarchal kind of environment, I think that I was very fortunate to find a few women who were just in their own right, like fearless and open-minded and extremely encouraging of being who you wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I didn't find it like it's, you know, my mother is quite a badass. Like she's amazing. And ye mujhe pata hai, like after my divorce especially, like I feel like I've been feeling this kind of recurring theme. If my 80-year-old, if I were to meet like my 80-year-old self today, right? Like she somehow miraculously just showed up, my 80-year-old self. Like, I just feel like she would be so kind to me, you know? She would probably meet me and like treat me so much better than I treat myself today, you know, because I think that in the exact same way that I, Shahana at 38, can look at my 8-year-old self and give her like a hug and be like, you're just a baby. I think my 80-year-old self would look at my 38-year-old self and just be like, you know, I try to, because again, going back to the idea of like the older women I have seen that have been wonderfully kind and supportive, and I just kind of imagine like, what is the older auntie I want to be? I often say like, you know, especially because I have nieces and I have a lot of friends who have kids, I always say like I'm an auntie in training, you know, because you know, we grew up with our own fair share of aunties, you know, and unki matlab different types of aunties, you know.
Yes, I don't know. I think we have this strange love-hate relationship with aunties because they have always been a source of trauma and joy at the same time.
Trauma, joy, and then like
And sisterhood.
and sisterhood and compassion bhi. Matlab, I think ye, you know, probably age ke saath bhi you start, you know, maybe not necessarily justifying or forgiving the damage that was done by many aunties, but you know, age ke saath you get perspective as to why they are the way they are, you know. And then again, I often say like, you know, the reason isn't a justification, but it's an explanation. You know, there's a book that I love. It's called The Power of Film by Howard Suber, and it functions like a dictionary. Just be like every page is like a different aspect of film, but in terms of storytelling, right? So you know, like for example, when and we'll short, like there's small blurbs, but like when I went to the page for villain, तो उसके अंदर one thing that, you know, he said was that when you watch a film or you read a book or whatever and you come across the villain, you have to understand that in the movie the villain does not know that he's the villain. You know, we are watching it bahir se, like we're having, and we have this whole thing set up, but the villain feels absolutely like justified in their reasons for doing what they're doing, you know, whether it is the pursuit of grandeur or greed, or whether whatever justifies the means, or jo bhi hai, like that's how they, so I think
the victim.
exactly
That's how they see themselves, right? They think they're the victims, or
exactly. So I think the same thing, you get that perspective the older you get, ki acha matlab even the toxic aunties, you're like, yeah, I get it. I don't forgive it, you know, I don't forgive it. I don't think it should be, you know, something that we, you know, whatever, but I just think that from perspective, and I think that even when I make content online, I try, especially because a lot of the content that I've made in the past has been, I wouldn't say critical, but like, it's holding everything under a microscope a little bit, you know? Like, why is this the way it is? I might not always be successful at it, but I try to be a little mindful of like, who is
not demonizing,
who is the punching bag and why? You know? Yeah.
I mean, I see that. I think, Celia, I was talking about aunties. I think some of the content you made is definitely resonates with so many women, and that's why you, I mean, that's why people follow you, because they connect with your content, and that's, I want to understand. Okay, I mean, I'm from the pre-internet generation.
Asian generation. How old are you? Like you're making yourself sound like
47. Okay, so I mean,
you're making it sound like you're like over the hill, geriatric, like so far. Last night I was at a birthday party. Jahan pe everybody was like, "Oh, I'm so old. How old did you turn?" I just turned 30, and now I'm over.
I have some friends who've been so upset that they're turning 30, and I was like, "Listen, unless my son is 20, okay, so I mean, लेकिन ये कि वैसे I actually feel great. I think 40s are the best decade yet. And for all the women I've spoken to are older than me, they all love getting older. There's no one who said, oh, everyone's like, this is better than the 20s and 30s, definitely. So I have good news for everyone.
Yeah, no, that was what I was going to ask you, because I have only heard from every woman that I have met and known personally that is over 40, they're like, it's the best. Like, Meto, I can't wait for it, because
it's something shifts in the universe. I don't know, for men as well, probably. I don't know. Like, for women, for sure.
But what shifts? Like, to those of us who are younger, even though I'm only like 2 years to 40, but like, what shifts? Like, what has shifted in you personally?
What exactly? So you see, this is the thing. Hum log, I think for our here I'm going to talk about generations, because the generational thing. See, the thing is that we were brought up in a different. Our moms would obviously, I mean, I think they're older than your moms, so they were still carrying some of the confusion of what a woman. I think every woman carries a bit of a. There's a transition in every generation, right? So. Like, coming back to the point, I think women my age and older were not able to take permission, give themselves permission, and own themselves in the way that we see people younger than us doing. And I think that's really encouraging. Like, I think maybe the things that I see you doing in your content and talking about, a lot of the things हमारी generation and above was too nahi छोड़ो क्या बात, and this is the way it is, it's fine, life go, it's not that they were not really there, okay, especially to publicly put yourself in a place and point out things, but the boy giving permission at the end of the day, publicly, privately, whatever, just giving yourself permission, I think, to do things, to not wait for somebody else to give you permission to do those things.
I think so that shifted for you after 40, that you started finally giving yourself permission?
I think so. I think that's what I hear from other women as well, older than me, okay. And that's what fascinates me about women younger than myself, which is why I keep talking about generations, because I think definitely there's more, we take on more pressure. We allow the pressure to suffocate a lot of our things, a lot of our wishes, and follow the norms, whatever. And जो भी हम पे मतलब लोग क्या कहेंगे kind of pressure है ना, वो I feel like
but you felt that more. Huh? No, I'm saying, but you felt that more in your 30s, and you don't feel it as much in your 40s now. That pressure.
I think there's I think society's expectations, pressure on younger women is more. Older women को लोग कहते हैं कि भाई अब इससे क्या बात करनी है, तो बड़ी हो गई है, मतलब
you're over the hill.
I know, right? Exactly. ये तो मरने वाली है बस, इसको क्या कहना.
I feel like I felt that slightly, not regarding, I guess, my age, but I'm sure some people must think so. I don't know, but I definitely felt that after getting divorced, because I feel like हमारे society में, like, aksar, it's a thing, right? Like, shadi and maintaining a marriage is considered like the epitome of success for a woman, right? Okay, you've made it, you know, or kya chahiye, you know, bache bhi ho gaye, flam bhi ho, you know what I mean? Like you've made it. And then if that's like the pinnacle, then the drop or the polar opposite is divorce, where you've literally walked away and you've crashed and burned, and you know you've done all of that. I remember after I got divorced, like obviously, you know, the divorce itself was really, you know, painful, and I think that only women that have gotten divorced or actually understand like what it is to do that. But I think wo thoda uske baad you get like a phase or a period of like, oh my God, now I'm like, what is this weird new freedom, you know? And it becomes weirdly liberating because I used to joke that according to like Desi women, I guess Desi culture standards, like as a divorced woman, you've basically hit rock bottom in society. इससे नीचे आप जा ही नहीं सकते. So when you realize, so my point is, once you realize, like maybe this was like a way for me to cope, but it was like I told myself कि like once you realize कि आप basically like society के rock bottom पे आप पहुंच गए हो, तो then उससे ज़्यादा then there's no more expectations of you, you know? Nobody, you know, similar to what you were saying about age, nobody really bothers you. I feel like for a while it's like people are like, you get divorced, forget her, you know? And it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know, like if I was in my 30s, maybe you had hear this too, but I think if I was in my 30s, people would definitely be more interested. People would be more interested कि मेरी शादी हो जाए फिर से. तो अब कोई नहीं कर. अब मुझे अब सब कहते हैं ना, it's fine, कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Like ठीक है, अब मुझे नहीं करना. मुझसे पहले लोग कह रहे हैं कि नहीं कोई जरूरत नहीं.
Yeah. No, that's definitely one of the things that I saw as well after getting divorced, is like, you know, mixed reactions. But like one of the reactions for sure was कि अच्छा नहीं कोई बात नहीं अगला वाला, you know, ये इस तरह होगा, अगला वाला ये. I was like, why do you think I'm interested? Like me अब भी निकली हूँ from that. Like why do you think I'm like now अगला वाला is gonna be like this? I was like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like for a while I just want to like, you know, exactly. Why do you think it now? But it goes back to the idea of like, what, like you become a glitch in the matrix, right? You need to be like, society needs to figure out where do we plug this person now? And it's like, you know, it's like I just feel like I think the best women I talk to are divorced women, you know, because I think it's like obviously when I was married, I knew what marriage took, you know, and when I would meet divorced people, I would be like, acha, I had a general respect for them, because I was like, I knew कि अच्छा, this is a really difficult thing to do, but it's a tough choice. But once you do it, then I realized, like, again, wohi baat, it's like grief. It's like losing somebody. Nobody knows it until you've actually experienced it, you know, and that's how people kind of relate to each other. So I think that it's just, whatever society says about you, or what you should or shouldn't be at whatever stage of life you're at, whether you're married, not married, kids, no kids, you know, older, whatever that even means, you know, it's like at the end of the day, I feel like your peace of mind is everything. And that is one thing that you should not compromise on ever. You know, you should be able to sleep at night with some level of ease, because life is fucking hard, right? Like there's always going to be bullshit everywhere. Okay, everywhere. They're just...
I'm actually inspired to see that younger women are doing this now, are showing us older women that you can take permission even when you're younger. You can give permission, to yourself, and it's okay, you know. मतलब yeah, किसी ने मुझे शुरू में कहा था when I first started this it just so happened because my whole idea about BeyGhum Begums is that we're talking about. I wanted to talk to women who are inspiring me in a way. They're finding their own way through life. They figured out their own formula. कि भाई इस तरह नहीं इस तरह, this makes me happy, and somebody commented on one of the videos कि लगता है तो सारी सिर्फ divorced औरतें ही बेगम हो सकती है. I didn't respond to that because
Where's the problem?
yeah, I know, right? Where's the lie? But ये कि अल्लाह खैर करे, मतलब, and the whole idea is, yeah, it shouldn't be this hard. Women married, not married, child, not with a child, जो भी है यार आप women, it should not be just hard just to find your peace.
I do feel like, I think it is important to be said because I had a conversation with another friend of mine who's divorced, and she asked me, like, do you still believe in love? Like, do you think that a long-term partnership with one person is even like real anymore? Like, and I would say that, like, after I got divorced, I was a little bit like, I wasn't jaded from my marriage, but I started analyzing everybody that I knew, right? Jitne bhi married couples I know, right? And Allah ki qasam, I can count on like one hand, like, which ones I think actually do love each other. And it's not like young love. It's like these people have been with each other for over 10 years, 15 years. And like, even now, they would choose each other. Jo bhi ho jaye. Yeah. I was like, at least in my experience, in my view of things, I do believe it's possible. It's like, I'm not like put off of marriage or long-term partnership in any way. I believe it's absolutely possible. I can, like I said, I have examples of real life couples that, like, are doing it the right way. But in my opinion, they are the minority. I don't see them as much. I think a lot of the couples I do see are staying with each other for the wrong reasons, and I think that it just goes back to perhaps this pressure. And again, I don't think it's specifically a desi pressure. Obviously, hamare culture mein to it's to the nth degree, but every culture has this idea ki acha ek din I'm going to grow up and I'm going to get married, and it has to, So I think that, it's just something that we've been told that we have to do this. So
yeah, but it's hard. It's either way, it's hard, right? It's not marriage is hard, but being alone is also hard. Everything has its own challenges, right? It's not like everything's perfect. Like I guess it's just a matter of, it's about permission. It's about giving yourself that permission, even while you're married, to say, I deserve better in this marriage. अगर मैं रह रही हूँ तो ठीक है, लेकिन that doesn't mean कि I shouldn't be happy. I don't deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to feel fulfilled even in this marriage while I'm married. You don't have to be on your own to get that. I mean, unfortunately, कभी लगता है ऐसे ही, मतलब हमारे, I think women only get divorced when they realize they can't get that from their marriage. Yeah. Right? वो तो we all understand. किसी को कोई शौक, nobody gets married to get divorced. Nobody wants to. That's not where anyone wants it to go.
No, of course, nobody, like I say all the time, nobody goes into a marriage wanting a divorce. That's not, nobody signed ki acha ye hona baad mein. It's like, what do you say? So I was just saying that oftentimes I just tell people, like, that was my starter marriage, and it's like a starter kit. Can you, dip your toes in to see how does it work? It was, I mean, overall, I was with my ex for 8 years, but I was married for 6. It was a 6-year trial. Because I was like, don't mind, but can you tell me why, so that you can figure out, like, acha ye masla tha. I was like, forget it. But I wanted to, I feel like a lot of, like, you've been asking about, like, I guess perhaps where do we get the audacity, those of us in our 30s? you know, the audacity of how of expressing ourselves. And I can't speak to everybody. I know that there's definitely a lot of women in my age bracket, and when I say the age bracket, I just mean generically the 30s, um, who are definitely more fearless than I am, and who are stronger and have all kinds of opinions. And definitely in real life, they are fighters. I am not a fighter in life at all. My mom actually said this of her 3 daughters, because we're 3 daughters and a son, but she said this to somebody, and I thought it was absolutely correct. She said, ki, my older sister, Shandana, she said, ki, Shandana, when she's upset, so she starts crying. Misbah, jo mujhse choti hai, she's like, when she's upset, she fights, but Shahana, when Shahana is upset, Shahana leaves. And that's true. I will try my best in a situation to I'm big on dialogue and conversation with opposing views. Like, I'll really try to understand, because like I said, mera wohi mentality, storytelling ka, ki villain doesn't know that they're the villain, to try to help them get there.
Yeah, maybe they're not seeing it. Yeah.
Maybe they're not seeing it. So I will try to do that. But after a certain point, when I realize ki yaar, ye nahi hone laga, I don't care about having the last word. I don't care about fighting. I don't care about trying to prove that my viewpoint is right and yours is wrong, because I just believe that all of that shit's evolving anyway. So I'm a big, like, protect my energy, protect my space person. I will disappear. However, I guess going back to, your question about like online and the way we present online and the things that we share online, I'm the kind of person, I'm not a reactive person. Like, in the sense that I don't see something and then instantly react, I have to really think about it and dwell on it. And even when I'm writing content, I take a lot of time to think about what is it I'm trying to say and how am I trying to say it? How do I couch it in like a way that's palatable to make you see it? Oftentimes with humor, because humor it lowers your defenses.
Softens the blow.
It does. It softens the blow, and it lowers your defenses. You're more receptive. I feel this pressure, maybe not pressure, but I have a lot of younger girls in my life. They're my nieces, they're my friends' kids. And I want to be that khala, that they can come to and they can talk to about all the things I didn't have people to talk to about, So mujhe ye hai. So maybe that's where I get the audacity from, because I just think that, like, I want that.
I wanted to ask you about this. Who do you think that you are representing in your content? When you are thinking, whose issues are these?
I think that they're I think it's honestly all women's issues, right? Because I think that we have all felt a version of what I speak about in my content. There are women that may not necessarily agree, and I've had it. I've had women come at me also for things that they don't agree with, but I know that they've at least thought about it. I often say that, like, if I've been able to make you laugh and think at the same time, then I've done my job, because the idea is to spark conversation in your own brain, to help you question our own biases. And I'm going to correct that statement. It's help us question, because I try my best to not make it a, let me tell you, this is what it is. For me, as I'm doing it, it's an us thing. Like, let me ask myself these questions. I put myself under the microscope to ask myself, jo recurring themes are, like, there's a reason why this is coming to you. You need to think about it. And so this is actually something that a lot of the women who follow what I do, they say, they're like, you're able to verbalize things that we're thinking but we're not saying. And possibly what you were saying about your generation, about the fact nobody, like, you all know it, but you're not talking about it because what's the point, right? And fayda koi nahi hai. So if anything, perhaps it's just holding a mirror to the thoughts of many women from possibly Gen X, Millennial, and possibly Gen Z, specifically Desi women. It's just holding up a mirror. That's all it is. People can react and respond and connect and relate in whatever way they want because everybody's, again, coming from their own narrative. But I think that's what it is. I just think that it's about feeling like your brain can be in a safe space, even if we're not physically in the same space, even if we're not interacting directly, just like right now in real time, you and I are talking, but sometimes when you see your thoughts being represented elsewhere, you just feel represented and you feel seen and heard. And even going back to traditional storytelling and film and writing, like we resonate with the characters on screen and in books that we see ourselves in. Like, that's the truth of it. You will love a film because you see yourself in a character, because and then and also, excuse me, you will see the journey of that character, and then perhaps in the film, that character will go through conflict, resolution, catharsis. Jo aap zindagi mein, you might not be able to experience it. But because you're watching somebody else get that closure, aapke dil ko bhi sukoon, Like, one of the things that a lot of women say to me is that watching you share your thoughts, your struggles, your real life in a way that feels raw. Like, that's one thing a lot of people say, that the way you share your life feels raw and authentic and real. And I know those are words that people throw around a lot.
Unfiltered.
Yeah. But they say watching you do that, it helps heal their own pain, their own questions. It answers a few questions that they have in their own lives,
It's kind of it sort of alleviates a bit of suffocation, you could say. It gives you some oxygen, I think, especially for women who can't even imagine what owning yourself and your decisions and your mistakes and your choices, what it feels like, and just to see someone who has done it and is dealing with it, with grace, with optimism, with getting up and saying, today, I don't feel great, but I'm going to keep going. And just these things, I think that's what makes good content work.
Given the bracket that you're in, what prompted you to start doing this? Because you're also now doing like these unfiltered conversations because you were inspired by, or you, like you said, it's about finding inspiration in women that are older than you. Like for you, what made you make that decision to just, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this?
Well, for me, it was honestly, it was therapy that made me, I think therapy helps you create self-awareness, and it shows you how hard you've been on yourself. मतलब दूसरे लोग तो जो भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आप खुद अपने साथ जो कर रहे हैं, वो पहले वो उसको ओन करना, अपनी गलतियों को समझना कि you can't just say कि भाई सिर्फ मैं ही मतलब वो बस दूसरा बंदा ही विलन है और मैं सिर्फ सबसे प्यारी हूँ, मतलब तो आपने भी अगर if you've allowed things to happen, why did you allow those things to happen, things like that. I think उसकी वजह से it made me curious, and it made me think, there's so many women that I find fearless in some way or the other, from different generations, that I would like to understand कि किसी ने, like someone like Shima Kirmani, who has lived an unconventional life for her generation. It's unconventional, it's not, इसमें कोई गलत नहीं है, लेकिन it's unconventional. Why? How do you build an unconventional life? Why do you decide? And what makes you choose yourself in that way. I think that's fascinating. So yeah, for me, that's why I this is why I'm doing this. And I'm hoping that people will learn with it's sort of a learning thing for me. I think people watching might also learn from some of these conversations, hopefully. I think that women don't take themselves seriously at all, and हम लोग we're used to being the ultimate, martyr in every situation. अपने आप को माइनस करना सबसे पहले कि नहीं, मेरा क्या है, मेरा क्या है, मैं तो कुछ भी खा लूँगी, मेरा क्या है, मैं तो कुछ भी पहन लूँगी, that kind of thing. And मैं तो कुछ भी कर लूँगी, मैं तो कहीं भी चली जाऊँगी, मतलब मेरा क्या है, मतलब बच्चों को बस देखना है या मियाँ को देखना है, ससुराल को देखना है, all of this एक सन या पेरेंट्स को देखना, मतलब whatever it is, it's a giving role, and giving is good. Giving is very, very fulfilling, but and I have been so much giving. मतलब बस end हो गया,
Giving.
give.
That's actually one of the things when I have started kind of hosting these women's trips, right? So last year we went to Vietnam. This year literally next week we're going to Bali. And the women that come on these trips, they're predominantly Desi women, and they're flying in from all parts of the globe. Some are coming literally from Pakistan, some are from the UK. Jo bhi matlab, they're still Desi women who are coming, and it's the beautiful thing I think about that I see on these trips is, all these women kind of come together to be, and because like again, travel is like one of those things, it's a novel experience, so it's firing like different neurons in your brain and new pathways, and it's exciting, and so you're kind of, it's firing all the things. But it's like when all these women come together, whatever roles they had in their worlds and their homes, those labels drop for a second. It's like, it's not to say that they stop being married, they stop being a mom, they stop whatever job, but like you see those labels just drop, Yeah, right? And it's such a beautiful thing, because for just a period of time they can just return to themselves, rediscover themselves, be whoever they want to be for just a period of time. And mera kaam hai to give them that safe space. Keep it up, do be. Okay?
I think women have a tendency, I don't know if this is grooming or what it is, conditioning, but कि हम लोग we tend to sort of melt into whatever system we put in, whether it's your immediate family or your in-laws, कि बस अब now I'm part of this wall, एकदम से अपने आप को जाके उसमें आप absorb हो जाते हैं system में, and I think you lose the boundaries of yourself in these systems. And maybe spending time alone or on a trip like this, it gives you clarity कि मैं आखिर, who am I as an individual? What are my needs? What are my boundaries? What do I really want from life? What makes me happy? What makes me happy? It's just that so hard to pin that down sometimes. Because we are just so focused on everyone else's happiness, right? Sorry.
No, all good. I was picking from where you talked about fitting into a system. I think that hamari like bachpan se we are kind of told ki acha, as girls, this is not your home, you're gonna go into your home, right? Like this is temporary, you're
society कहती है, somewhere or the other you hear this information, चाहे आपके अम्मी अब्बू ना कह रहे हो लेकिन कोई कह रहा होता है आसपास,
this is not your end meal, you have to go and you have to go into someone else's home and assimilate into someone else's home. And I remember like when I was very young, like I was like 19, and there was a boy that I had a big crush on, and I think we dated for like 2 months. It wasn't a big thing. But I remember one of the things he said to me was like the reason ultimately he couldn't be with me at the time was because in his opinion, I wasn't the kind of girl that he could introduce to his mom, and for me at that time, especially in Pakistan, it felt like such a blow because it felt like there must be something so wrong with me. So wrong with me. कि मतलब, because going back to like validation and fitting into somebody else's world, like मुझे तो सिखाया गया था ना कि at the end of the day, I have to belong to someplace else. I have to find my clan. I have to find, and this boy basically made me feel like I'm not Sharif enough. I'm not Khandani enough. Ki mera koi kahin, ghar nahi basna type stuff. And I don't have it in me to be, and it really kind of disrupted, and it's an insecurity that I feel like started then, but I still have to a degree, which I have to like be mindful of now, is like the sense of belonging to something or someone that it feels stable and rooted, कि जब तक I don't have my own home, my own family, my own kids, my flat, I don't have a sense of being rooted, and I don't have a sense of being rooted in belonging. Do you know what I mean?
मतलब वो कहता है ना मेरे पाँव के नीचे जमीन नहीं है.
Yeah, but it's like you have to assimilate into somebody's world. And one of the lessons that I've learned with time is I am my whole world. I'm belonging right here in my world. And partnership is not about you going and assimilating into somebody else's world. It's about merging worlds and building your own, Yeah. And I think that like that's just something that there's a lot of conditioning that we have since a young age. We have to somehow become this version that, going back to the idea of giving and this kind of endless faucet of compromise, because you are so lucky to assimilate into somebody else's system and somebody else's world, and blah 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 blah.
I think the key thing for me was also respect. अगर आपको you don't know how to respect your own boundaries, then how would somebody else know where those are? मतलब आपको खुद ही नहीं पता आपकी boundaries कहाँ है, तो दूसरे को कैसे पता चलेगा? Lots of little lessons like that. Yeah, I think the older you get, but वही है कि I see now अब हम बड़े होके ये चीज़ें समझ रहे हैं, लेकिन I'm happy to see कि younger women are seeing more stuff now, like stuff like red flags, green flags, all of this narcissist, blah blah blah. ये हमने कभी बचपन 20s में तो ये बातें सुनी.
हमारे पास तो vocabulary
वही ना. हाँ.
Sorry, but toxic masculinity, gaslighting, ये तो new age. This is we didn't have it growing up. I had no idea. I was like, we were experiencing it, but we didn't have the words to identify it. This is what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of learning in this. So I think that what I want to understand, learn also here is your approach to money. Okay, how does someone who's working in content creation, someone who's working freelance, I mean, up to whatever art or anything, someone dealing with this kind of work, how do you plan money, or how do you approach money?
Oh, my relationship with money has changed so much over the years. I mean, I've always had a job. It's not to say that I haven't had like a job. I still have a job. I work for a digital media and filmmaking nonprofit. I'm the program director. We basically create digital media and filmmaking programs for the youth here in Philly. And we also produce our own work. We are actually 3-time Emmy winning. So I've been there for 8 years now, and I come from like a film and TV background. Isse pehle I was working for a TV show in New York City. Usse pehle in Pakistan, I was working for Coke Studio. Usse pehle, like, I was working in Islamabad. I was on City FM 89. I was a radio show host for the Rush Hour. And then arts for sure, forever. I started acting professionally when I was 16. So I've always been doing this, right? Content, though, is a new thing. Because I have been working since I was 16 and making my own money since I was 16, I've always lived in a mindset of I have the ability to make money. I have the ability to pay my bills. And I've never had a mindset of I have too little or I have too much. I've always been very grateful for what I have. However, I think I was never, growing up, I was not as, I guess, money-minded. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it in the way that I wish I was a little more money-minded. When I was younger, people, if they ask that kind of standard question, like when you grow up, do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? I would always be like, I want to be famous. I want to be known for my stuff. Now I feel like I didn't invest a lot of time in being financially literate. I don't think that I was taught to be financially literate. I don't think it came from my family. I don't think it came from society. I don't think it came from my ex-husband. I don't think anybody opened that door for me, and I didn't open it for myself either. Mera to tha that so long as I'm making money and, I'm paying my bills and thode se savings, I'm great. But and again, I think the idea of money is vilified a lot. We're taught that money doesn't bring you happiness. And when you say something like that, it implies that if you are pursuing money, there's something wrong with you, and there's something ugly about you. And, and like, if you shouldn't be defining your happiness through money. And I'm like, it's taken me post 35, because I started really feeling this. I realized at 35, I'm 38 now. I realized at 35 that I was financially illiterate. And it took me 35 years of life to realize, okay, money does not bring you happiness, and there are other ways to bring you happiness, but I can tell you what money absolutely brings. It brings you freedom, and money brings you options and choices, Yeah. It brings you safety and stability. And that ultimately leads to what I prize more than anything else, which was peace of mind, right? And I think it took me 35 years to realize that and demystify that. And I think a part of it was after my divorce. When I got divorced, I was $25,000 in debt. I was pretty much, I gave everything in terms of like furniture and all that stuff to my ex-husband, and I was on my own. I was like, now I'm $25,000 in debt. I make an income, but it's clearly not enough to take care of that level of debt for now. And I was like, and I didn't know, I didn't know anything about retirement. I didn't know anything about investing. I didn't, like, none of that, of what my options were. And I started thinking about the idea of, I guess when I was married, at least, there's this perception of, or there was this thought, we're gonna grow old together and we're gonna build together. But uske andar, there was like this perceived idea of safety, we have a plan because we're a team. Right. And I relied very heavily on that perceived idea of safety and future. Yeah. And once I got divorced, I remember talking to my mom. I said, Mom, I have to work off of the premise that I'm alone for the rest of my life. That's it. And and now when I meet other women, whether you're married or not, I tell them the same. I said, it's not me wishing you ill. It's not me wishing your marriage ill. It's not me, nothing like that. Yeah. But financially, you have to figure out what do you have for yourself for your future. So I often say today that whatever I do today, financially and physically, because health is a factor, is for 70-year-old Shahana. Like, I ask myself, like, what am I doing for her?
This is something that I get a lot from this question. Okay, all the women say, money, you have to understand money to really be free. It's not about shadi hona ya divorce hona ya beva hona, anything. It's money. Your relationship with money is very important. और इसमें कोई रुकावट नहीं है कहीं से भी. There's nothing wrong with it. Figure out something for yourself, anything, just for you. My mother was, mashallah, very, she was very active in her work. She's successful in her work. But she always said to me कि भाई अपने लिए कुछ होना चाहिए, चाहे कुछ भी हो चाहे कुछ भी हो. मतलब बंदा चाहे कपड़े सी रहा हो, बट यू नो बेकिंग कर रहा हो, पर कुछ भी कर रहा हो, अपने जो भी कैपेसिटी है उसमें अपने लिए कुछ करना ज़रूरी है. Just for you.
Essentially, the way I saw having debt after my divorce, I just saw it as financial baggage from my marriage in the way that there's emotional baggage. And I just told myself that I wanted to rid myself of it as soon as possible, ताकि I can start building my own, I guess, financial journey and financial autonomy, because I wanted to now take the reins of my own financial journey and my own financial footprint. So मैंने कहा कि okay, I'm gonna, like, I remember that first year after my marriage, I worked around the clock. I took on every like side gig hustle I could do ताकि, you know, जो भी हो जाए वो खत्म हो जाए. And I did it. I did it in a year, and it was the craziest year of my life, especially coming off of my divorce and like all of that and the grief and the way that comes up. But I laser focused on it. Uske baad, then I realized, like, again, I was able to sit down with the idea of, holy crap, I have been financially illiterate for 35 years of my life. And now I'm 36 and I'm trying to figure that out. And I'm now in that process of learning more about developing my own financial security and my own financial stability, because of the fact that I'm constantly thinking of 60-year-old Shahana, 70-year-old Shahana, with the presumption that whether I find a partner or not, whether I have a long-term situation or not, I should have something that is for me. And so I tell people all the time, anybody I meet, any woman I speak to, कि खुदा का वास्ता है, जो भी हो जाए, have something that is just yours, that you are focused, that you are nurturing and growing, that is completely for you, because it's just hugely, hugely important. And I had to learn that well into my mid-30s.
Shahana, what have you learned about yourself that makes you happy? Like, what do you think? What is your happy place now?
My happy place is on my bike. I love it. I love the ability to get up, go outside, and get on my bike. That is one thing that a lot of people ask me about, like, if I would move, where would I move and how would I move? And if I am robbed of the ability to get on my bike and just go for a ride, that would really, really depress me, because it takes care of my physical health, my mental health, but it just has this very freeing, it ties back to the idea of freedom and exhilaration. You know, like, I love traveling, obviously. I go around and see the world. I think my happy place is also just when I'm traveling and throwing myself into new circumstances. My happy place is with my nieces and my nephew. You know, I love the babies in my family. They bring me immense joy. But I'm a creature of wonder. Like, I love wandering and having freedom. And so being on my bike, throwing myself into travel, and I'm a creative kid. So I always want to be able to create. So if I get excited about learning about anything creativity wise. So
yeah, no, I get that. Like, for me, my most fun experience is being on a rickshaw. I love, you know, that's just, there's something, you know, there's something about rickshaws. I love to, and I think it's also the wandering. मैं ऐसी करती थी कराची में, I would just go once a month. I would just go to just some random part of Karachi जो मैंने कभी नहीं देखा, किसी random बाजार, कोई खजूर बाजार, शेर शाह या somewhere, रिक्शे में जाके and just walk around, explore. And ये बात है कि it's not even, I mean, you don't have to be of a certain class or a certain, you know, there are things, the small things जो आपको खुश करती हैं, and you should not deprive yourself. अपने लिए छोटी छोटी चीजें वो ढूंढें, you know, चाहे वो cycling है, which is it's a great privilege as well. I mean, I know पाकिस्तान में तो इस तरह नहीं करते थे, but if you have that opportunity, go for it. You know, if you have the opportunity, जाएं रिक्शे पे सैर करें. वैसे मेरे पास, मैं अब सोच रही हूँ, मुझे हमेशा वेस्पा स्कूटी का बहुत शौक था. I would love, now I'm thinking, I think I would like to sit on a Vespa scooty. Maybe I should rent one.
You should. I support it. You should do it. And then I also think the value of, you don't need a big group of friends, but the value of, you know, that laughter you have with old friends that hurts your belly and makes you cry. You know, jo maybe it's bachpan ke dost, maybe it's new friends in your adult life, because I think we could talk about that for ages, because I feel like that's a beautiful new experience. That sensation of being able to sit with somebody and laugh so much that you start tearing up.
Yeah.
That is, you can't, there's no other feeling.
Yeah, that's, yeah, priceless. Like,
It is.
it's priceless. But Khair, thank you so much, Shahana, for doing this with me. And I hope that, yeah, this has been interesting. It's been different for me. I think I don't talk to, well, I think you might be the first content creator I'm talking to. But वैसे भी, I mean, it's been so refreshing. And I hope that I think I learned some things, and I hope that other people will find something that they've connected with, and hopefully make it easier for people to just be happy, just choose their happiness. It's okay यार, हम किसी का कुछ किसी से छीन तो नहीं रहे, कुछ किसी को चोरी नहीं कर रहे, अपने आप से बल्कि चोरी कर रहे हैं जो हम we are depriving ourselves, कि जहाँ हम अपने आप को पीछे करते हैं, we are actually losing something for ourselves. And किसी ने, अब बिल्कुल अल्लाह मैंने आपको मना नहीं किया कि आप अपनी खुशी को कम करें या उसको दबाएं या उसको सैक्रिफाइस करें. कोई बहुत बहुत महान आप कोई पेडेस्टल पे स्टैचू और ट्रॉफी नहीं मिलने वाली है आपको. आई थिंक दैट्स समथिंग दैट वी in some part of our head minds we have this idea कि हमें पता नहीं कौन सी ट्रॉफी मिलेगी जब हम ये सब कुछ अपने आप को तब खत्म कर देंगे, फना हो जाएंगे हम तो.
Who did you live your life for ultimately, you know? And
हाँ,
follow your own bliss. I think going back to just like the idea of comparison is, I just think at the end of the day, are you, hum kehte hain na, what's meant for you won't miss you. You know, you are, even if it's painful, you are exactly where you're meant to be right now, you know, and things change so fast, you know, and so find what makes you happy, do what makes you happy. It's big, small, it doesn't matter, and just trust you're where you're supposed to be. And वही बात, I think it might just go back to belief for us, you know, कि हमें बस अल्लाह पे यकीन है कि this is, you know, this, I'm trusting this, you know,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
okay. And I always say at the end of the day, when I'm older, I just want my 80-year-old self to look back and say, yeah, you know, I lived a life. I lived a big life, and I have stories to tell. At the end of the day, I want to be able to do that.
Inshallah, for sure. I think that sounds like a great idea, and anyone really, we can all have it. We don't have to be single, or we don't have to be whatever. The thing is, you can choose this for yourself in whatever situation, and it's okay. Okay, anyway, thank you so much, and
Thank
it's been
you.
lovely talking to you, Shahana. And please keep doing what you're doing. It's
Same.
definitely
Likewise.